Many refer to the E-Rate Modernization Order of 2015 as E-Rate 2.1. We now have one full school season under our belts to examine some of the lessons learned under this order. The most important of which is that requests for proposal, or RFPs, must be well structured to ensure school districts and consortiums achieve the Category 1 objectives laid out by the FCC. The Category 1 initiative has seen substantial changes, including coverage of new technologies like optical transport products, the ability for applicants to pay non-discounted portion over multiple years, and permitting self-construction of high-speed broadband networks. With all of these changes, districts are challenged with making the best decisions and providing to their member schools. This has created many questions and confusion not only for districts, but also for consultants and service provider communities. During the most recent E-Rate season, that confusion was magnified by the fact that many RFPs were vague and primarily referenced outdated rules. This generated an array of responses from many service providers and vendors, making it difficult, if not impossible, for districts and consultants to effectively evaluate and compare solutions. There are three major questions districts, consortiums, and consultants need to take into consideration throughout the RFP process. First, is continuing with a lit carrier service solution going to meet the bandwidth objectives to support the long-term needs based on the growth of digital learning? Or should the district be moving to a dark fiber solution? If the latter is chosen, the typical 3 to 5 year timeline for a lit services contract may need to be expanded up to 20 years in order to make a more fair comparison to dark fiber options and better evaluate the return on investment. Next, if dark fiber is determined to be a viable solution, does the district have the staff to implement a self-construct model, or is a leased fiber or an IRU the better solution? Finally, with any solution, have you ensured provisions for the new WAN equipment to be incorporated? This includes core sites and edge sites that may need new gear to sustain the coming bandwidth growth. In addition to the above questions, if districts and consortiums wish to own and operate their own WAN infrastructure, they will need to consider a third-party network integrator to provide options like hardware, project management, and design and ongoing management of the network. There are two approaches in writing an RFP for WAN services: a single consolidated RFP for both the transport and networking equipment, or separate RFPs respectively. All of these questions promote the need for districts to plan out the timeline, evaluate technical guidelines and criteria, write comprehensive RFPs, and assess the responses all within the E-Rate filing window. The typical 28-day window no longer provides sufficient time for providers to respond to complex bids. Districts should be prepared to offer vendors no less than 60 days to ensure quality responses. The evaluation team must take time to ensure that offerings, pricing, and terms are reasonably comparable. They must also allow for all the correspondence that will transpire prior to entering a contract. Districts must also ensure their current contract covers the full transition time to the selected solution, because the construction of new fiber often requires a great deal of time. Expectations should be very conservative in an effort to avoid conflicts or loss of service due to unforeseen delays in the project. Under E-Rate guidelines, the district is obligated to choose the option that provides the most cost-effective solution, but not at the cost of falling short of functional requirements. This includes looking at the total cost of ownership, or TCO, where not only the cost of third parties like carriers, construction firms, consultants, project management, and equipment vendors are included, but also internal costs like staff hours to implement or future costs associated with the chosen solution. It remains at the district's discretion to ensure the overall solution meets the bandwidth levels with consideration to the modernization order, while achieving the architectural requirements equivalent to their current level of service with great consideration of ROI and TCO. The additional time spent on upfront planning, architectural analysis, and expanded timelines for RFP respondents will pay off for districts and consortiums in a solution that will scale for the next 15 to 20 years. More importantly, this provides the best route for approval of the Category 1 application in being thorough and fair.